And we are back with former McDonald's USA CEO Ed Rensi. Ed, Americans are lukewarm on the tax issue. You know, there's a poll that says 25% of people who answered this poll are calling the Trump tax plan a good idea. That's according to the new Wall Street Journal NBC poll. 35% say it's a bad idea, 40% no opinion. This is largely, I think, because people don't understand the details. What do you make of these numbers, Ed?
I think the American people are tuning out anything anybody says at the federal level and most state levels. The arguments back and forth are childish. Our politicians, they say, how are we going to pay for this? Well, hell, they haven't worried about paying for anything for the last 20 years. The deficit's out of control. It's a bunch of noise. They ought to get themselves in gear and start worrying about the middle class of this country and creating jobs. We have a cancer within this country called the federal deficit and federal spending. It is out of control. Yeah. I listened to Schumer stand at the podium, puts his glasses down on his nose. He's so sanctimonious. He talks down to everybody. The American people are fed up with it. They're checking out. They're just living their lives below the radar. Leave me alone. I don't want to be involved. We got a cancer attacking us at ISIS. We got an internal cancer with our politicians who only want to get reelected. They're not doing their job.
Yeah, and you're channeling, you know, what so many people are channeling. Everybody wants their thing, right? I mean, yesterday you heard from all the lobbyists around real estate and the state and local deduction. I mean, so at some point, the Republicans need to come out and cut taxes.
It's a part of the
Do it already.
It's a part of the tough
Republicans are a bunch. The Republicans are a bunch of cowards because they're afraid they're not going to get reelected if they don't do the right and proper thing. They've been complaining for 8 years that they just needed the House, the Senate, the presidency, and they'd fix all these problems. They're lazy. They need to go to work.
Ed, you're confusing something. They're actually not Republicans. They're Democrats under a different name.
That's true.
That's exactly what they are.
You know what? You're right.
They do not represent the people, Democrats or Republicans. They represent themselves. They're greedy, and all they want to do is get reelected and have their cushy life.
Well, I don't know that they're greedy. I mean, like, that's it. But the bottom line is, they should have this done.
Why don't they participate in Obamacare like the rest of us if they're not greedy? They are greedy.
What do you think, Mary?
They take care of themselves first.
You mean senators or?
All the above.
All of the above. What do you think, Mary?
Well, I think you've got Republicans like Paul Ryan who care about process. They don't care about
Maybe
good
process
good,
too much.
good
Maybe
policy
the process
here.
has been a little too much.
And then you have, like Dagan said,
get
then
off
you
the
have
process.
get off the process. You know, look, there's differences in terms of increasing the deficit. You can increase the deficit with welfare programs, entitlement programs that are fraud-ridden that don't contribute to growth, or you can temporarily increase the deficit with a massive tax cut that's going to spur growth and prosperity and eventually be paid for as companies start to invest and to expand.
Can I ask
That's a big difference there.
Where were all of these deficit hawks in the last 8 years as President Obama doubled the debt from $10 trillion to $20 trillion?
Absolutely.
Okay, where were they then?
Absolutely. But Ed makes a great point. Nobody should miss the fact that if the Republicans don't deliver, having both houses of Congress and a Republican president this time, I mean, it's going to be a disaster going to the midterms.
Look, if these guys really cared about the deficit, they would have passed health care reform, which, by the way, was a massive entitlement reform and a major spending reform.
So then what's the answer then? I mean, what is going on?
Well, the answer is if they don't do this... Sorry,
go ahead, Ed.
I think you folks sitting at the table could go into a room and write a better tax plan than every senator or congressman, because you got common sense, which they lack.
Thank you, Ed. Final word, Mary, before we go to Cheryl. What were you going to say?
Final word. Most of the Republicans want a bigger tax plan than this. You just got a few guys. We should name them, shame them. Marco Rubio, Mike Lee, Ivanka Trump, that want the child tax credit. They just want to spend money. They don't want to give us a break.